As I understand things, my inner being is part of the Abraham family of teacher. The question is, does my inner being have something to say to me over and beyond what you have to say to me? Or
No.
from a larger picture, anybody else?
Your inner being might have something more specifically that it wants to say to you in any moment in time, such as, this is a good idea, or this feels good, or, oh, I love the fragrance of this rose, or, ooh, is this a beautiful sight that I'm seeing through your eyes? Your inner being is more intimate, but your inner being is not reaching for a different criteria with which to interact with you. Let's see if we can put this into perspective. We want to find a way of expressing this without adding any distortion. And sometimes as we try to speak non-physical through physical terms, there's a little distortion that is applied, and we're wanting to
I'm fully aware of that.
Avoid that. So here you are as physical focused consciousness. And of course you can't separate yourself from the consciousness of your source. And that stream that we are calling source includes your inner being and the family of consciousness that your inner being is with, the Abraham group that you are talking about, as well as all that is that some call God. And so to separate that stream out and try to define it, first of all, is not possible. And second, it is not even very much recommended. That stream that is flowing is coming forth in response to you at different levels of your consciousness. In other words, your inner being is the most intimate, non-physical aspect of you. But your inner being is never singular, because your inner being is consciousness that is constantly surrounded by the energy that matches its vibration. And so to try to separate your inner being from its greater family of consciousness is counterproductive, because of course you are wanting the fullness of that. So then you might say, well, does that mean that my inner being is not as much as the family from which it comes forth or resides in? And we say, of course not. Any more than one thought is more than 5 thoughts. So how do I interact with my inner being? How do I relate to my inner being? And we say, we would like you to begin thinking of your inner being as you, as that broader perspective of you. When Esther first began receiving us, she had been encouraged to know who was her spiritual guide. And she had never heard the expression before, but she liked the idea of it, sort of reminiscent of guardian angel. And as she began meditating, what was in her mind was, I want to know who my spiritual guide is. And the thought that that generated within her was, there's somebody interested in me, aware of me, who knows when I'm about to be in trouble, who will guide me around trouble. Spiritual guide. But the more she began to interact with us, the more she realized that we were not wanting to guide her around trouble, that was not our method at all, that we were more resonating, reverberating the vibration of well-being, and when she got in sync or in tune with that, then she would live well-being. So it translated that we were guiding her to where she wanted to go rather than away from what she didn't want. So for a while, as she was addressing Abraham, she said, who is my spiritual guide? And in response to that question, she heard us say, I am Abraham. We never said, I am Abraham. We just beat Abraham. We just projected the energy that is Abraham, and Esther received, I am Abraham, because she couldn't receive an answer to a question that she wasn't asking. In other words, she perceived us as singular, and so she received us as singular. But through time, little by little, as we were able to chat more and as more people were asking questions and as more and more of Jerry's questions began being satisfied, Esther began to feel that we were more than singular. She began to hear us when we said we. She began to feel what you're talking about here. She could feel the breadth and depth of the energy relative to some questions and a shallower, narrower response relative to others. And she began to recognize that the energy that is Abraham is coming in proportionate response to the question that is being defined in any moment. And so then as we began to tell Esther and others that we are an energy stream, and that we are always present but that her experience with us would be proportionate to her ability to receive us and allow us, then she began to understand her relationship with us. In the beginning, her relationship with us was very different from now. She sat in a chair because she didn't think she could stand. She kept her eyes shut because she did not know she could see. She barely allowed the words to come through her. Her body was rigid and holding to the chair. There was tremendous tension and resistance as we sort of plowed our way through, or as she allowed us under those conditions. And over time, as she relaxed and released more and more of her resistance, she is allowing a fuller, more intimate relationship with Abraham than anyone that we've ever interacted with, really. And so then you say, well, how do I know the difference between my inner being and Abraham, or my inner being and that broader energy that I might even call God? And we say, the less you try to quantify that, the more you will allow the fullness of all that you need and want that to be. Names and labels always limit, because it causes you to conjure something that is different from what is.
Well, when Esther says, I now intend to receive clearly your thoughts, and she's addressing that to Abraham, at least that's my perception of things. Isn't that falling into that particular pigeonhole, once again, that we had just talked about a second ago?
But what she is saying is, I'm going to relax and allow the non-physical energies to dominate this experience. I'm going to relax what I've been focusing upon, and I'm going to allow, and you're right, her expectation of that is a big carrier in what happens next. In other words, Esther knows that she will relax and that you will ask the questions and that the ideas will flow to her, and she does not spend any time trying to figure out where they're coming from or the validity of them. She just allows them to flow in this trusting attitude that all is well as a result of the interchange, you see. But you're right, there is an expectation that she holds. In fact, the expectation is so in place that even if she were to have an argument with a hotel manager on the way into the room relative to something, once she stands here and says, I'm ready to receive, she easily drops behind any resistance thought that she has and allows her expectation of the energy that is Abraham to dominate her vibration, and it works very well for her.
I'm thinking of the parallel of the 99.6 versus 105 FM dials or whatever like that. Unless you know what particular frequency you want, how do you know that you're actually there? Is it strictly a matter of just how it feels?
Yes. Okay. And with time and testing, in other words, more and more, as you play with it and receive it, you know it, until it becomes so natural that you don't have to think about it. It's like a groove just happens that is easy for you to slip into. And then your next intent can be the next horizon that you're reaching for. Esther said to Jerry the other day, in the middle of some negative emotion, and when Esther feels negative emotion in response to her misplaced thought, she takes it very hard because she knows better. And she knows not only the ramifications, which she does not fear, because she knows she can bring herself back in alignment at any time, but she feels a sincere disappointment in herself for not having chosen differently. And so she said to Jerry in the middle of all of that, I think I'm going to bring Abraham in and just let you live with Abraham. And Jerry looked up in horror because he really enjoys the personality of Esther. In other words, he enjoys the human experience they have together. And while what Esther meant was, I want to bring the best of me into our experience more of the time, what Jerry would say is, I'm liking all of you, and the contrasting experience is what we are all about. And so, when we talk about you being an extension of source energy, at what point do you try to shed the personality that is your human personality and be the inner being that is you? And we say, just be the physical being that is you and have all the fun that you can feel and feel as good as you can feel, and then there is no separation. In other words, your personality is who you are. You are who you are. And the personality of your inner being is who it is. And the personality of the group that your inner being is a part of is who it is. And there's not as much distinction from those parts as you think. All aspects of that which we all are love to think. We love to focus. We love to find a new idea. We love to feel the energy flow. We love to create. We love to take this energy that creates worlds and focus it toward our creative endeavor. We love to love. We love to enjoy. We love to savor. We love to relax and allow. We love to watch law of attraction at work. We love to adore others. We love to expand. We love to know that all is well. In other words, and all of those characteristics are part of every aspect of you, you see. And so if you were to become a physical, identical clone to your inner being, you would be a person that people would describe as deliberate, as jolly, as fulfilled, as complimentary, as strong and steady and sure-footed and healthy, as prosperous, as glowing. In other words, they would not say, oh, his personality changed from something that was human to something that is very strange. In other words, the you that is you is you. The best that you've ever felt, that's who you and your non-physical team is, you see. It's an interesting thing to watch the way physical beings translate non-physical. They put on long white robes or black ones, and they become solemn. Someone sent a letter to Jerry and Esther saying, I am absolutely certain that Abraham is not really happening. Esther is making it all up, and Esther liked the compliment of that. Because Source would not speak in so many colloquialisms. And we say, Source speaks in all language. You see.
If everything is happening now because linear time is a physical concept only, then how is it that some souls are considered old souls and some of them are considered to be newer souls? Or is that just another physical concept?
It's just all part of the physical concept of trying to quantify things that can't be quantified in order to make themselves feel better than them.
Okay.
Because you never hear someone talking about old souls and new souls who thinks that he is a new soul.
I've thought of that before. That's a good point.
The reason that we are playing with you about time is because this platform that you are focused within has so many benefits, because this sensation of time gives you opportunity to acknowledge where you are in relationship to the energy stream. In other words, when you desire something that hasn't happened yet, and you have a time frame in which you can watch the manifestations unfold, it gives you a greater sensation of motion. It's sort of like, it's not a perfect analogy, but you'll get the sense of it. Sitting on a moving vehicle and looking out across the distance, you get one sensation. Looking right at the road where you are, you get another sensation altogether. As you stand in your physical body and you are addressing your life experience very intimately from where you are, sometimes you have a much greater sensation of things moving than if you step back a little bit and look from a further distance. And time really is that way. When you get intimately involved in your life experience, the feeling of time passing is a more real experience than when you step back from it. And we're encouraging that you just sort of move in and out in your perspective, depending upon which feels the most exciting to you. We like you to get so intimately involved that you feel the sensation of time passing. Rather than thinking about time, think about how this contrast is giving birth to a thought within you that has not been before. And think about how that thought, as you focus upon it, summons energy into this time-space reality that has not been before. So the universe has just become more as an expression of your thought. It's more now than it was a moment ago. So if you think in terms of more and less, then you begin to really get a sense of time, because there are people who say, well, since it's simultaneous time, can't I go back in time? Couldn't I experience the 18th century? And we say, you cannot be less than you now are. You cannot achieve a vibration that is less than the vibration that you have achieved. That's why when someone achieves an empire and then something happens where it is lost or destroyed, they still have the vibration that they've achieved, and the empire will come back again. You see it all the time. Because it is the vibrational status that the universe is responding to, not the financial status. And so we always like to play with you when you're willing to talk about this business of time, because time is only a function of focus. That's the only thing that it was ever intended for. It is a function of focus. Utilize it in the way that serves you best, which means look at it in the way that feels the best to you.